Okay guys, so I know some people are still having difficulty with their linear equations quiz corrections. So I'm going to provide this video going through the review ones we did in class. These are very like the ones from the quiz. And this may help you as you're trying to work on those, okay? So I'm going to go through quickly, but you can pause at any point and rewind. So for number 1, slope-intercept form, I know that's y equals mx plus b. I've got an m value of 5. I've got a y-intercept of 3, which of course is my b value. So when I input those values, I have y equals 5x plus 3. Number 2, I'm again asked to write slope-intercept form. I've got an m value, -2/3. And I've got an x-intercept, and this is what confused a lot of people. The y-intercept is where the y-axis catches the line. It's going to be at that point 0, b. Okay? So that coordinate is 0, b. In this case, 0, 3. If we were graphing it, right, we would graph the y-intercept right here, and then we could use our slope, 5 up, 1 over, to find another point, right? That's how the y-intercept works. But this is not the y-intercept. This is the x-intercept. So the x-intercept is where the x-axis catches the line. This one is at -5, 0. Okay? So that's a point on my line. That's what they're telling me there. I can input -5 for x, y for 0 for y, and solve for b. Okay? As I'm doing that, 0 equals -10 over 3 plus b. Well, the only way I get a 0 if I have -10/3 is if I add +10/3. So b is +10/3. I'm going to use that value and input it for b to get the final equation. Y equals -2/3 x plus 10/3. Okay. Moving on. Now they want standard form. ax plus by equals c. I've got a slope of 1/4, a y-intercept of -4. I know I can write the slope-intercept form. Right? And then I need to convert it into standard form. So standard form, I know I have my x and y term on the left. Slope-intercept has the x term on the right. How do I get rid of it? Subtract. 1/4 minus 1/4 x, it's gone. I'm left with -4 on the right. -1/4 x and a y, those are not like terms. So I end up with this. And if I wanted to get rid of the 4th, I can multiply the whole thing by 4. 4 over 4 is just 1. So I have -1x, 4 times y, 4 times -14. So there's that equation in standard form. Okay. Number 4, slope-intercept form again. Y equals mx plus b. It's passing through 2 points. If I have 2 points, I can find slope, because slope is the difference in my y-coordinates over the difference in my x-coordinates. I'll do a little labeling. I'm going to use my values here. So I've got 6 minus 5. I've got 1 minus -2. 1 minus -2. Okay. 6 minus 5, just 1. 1 minus -2 is the same as 1 plus 2. So my slope is 1/3. Okay. So I'm going to fill that in. 1/3 x plus b. How do I get b? Well, I've got 2 points. I can pick either one and use it to substitute for x and y, because both are solutions to the equation. They have to make it true. I'm going to use this one, 1, 6. I'm going to put the 6 in for x. You'll see why that is a good idea. I'm going to put the 1 in. Oh, I made a mistake, actually. Let's correct that. I'm putting the 6 in for y. 6 is my y value. 1/3 times x. There we go. Okay. Plus b. Well, I know 1 is the same as 1 over 1, so I've got 6 equals 1/3 plus b. I need to isolate b. I'm going to subtract 1/3 from both sides. So b is equal to 6 minus 1/3. Well, that's a fraction situation. I need a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this one by 3 over 3 to get b equals, let me move this up a little bit. B equals 6 times 3 is 18 minus 1/3. Well, 18/3 minus 1/3, that's 17/3. Now I have my value of b. I can put it in, and I'm going to assemble the final equation. Y equals 1/3 x plus 17/3. Remember, your final equations need to have x and y, because there are an infinite number of combinations here that would actually make this equation true. Okay. All right, number 5, standard form, passing through 2 points. Well, I know I want ax plus by equals c. I've got 2 points. I can use those to at least get an equation in y equals mx plus b, just like I did here. I'm going to label the points x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. M is equal to the difference in my y coordinates over the difference in my x coordinates. -2 minus 7. -2 minus 4. So -2 minus 7 is -9. -2 minus 4 is -6. I've got 9/6 or 3/2. There's my m value. So I'm going to use that. Y equals 3/2 x plus b. I'm going to choose one of my points here. I'm going to go with this one, even though it has negatives. I'm going to put in -2 for y. I'm going to put in -2 for x. That's the same as -2 over 1 plus b. These cancel out. I've got -3 over 1, which is just -3. -2 equals -3 plus b. And I'm going to find pretty quickly that b is equal to 1. Now I'm off the screen a little bit there. b is equal to 1. Okay. So now I've got my slope-intercept form. Y equals 3/2 x plus 1. So I'm going to use that now to convert. Y equals 3/2 x plus 1. I'm going to move that x term. It's gone on the right. All I have is 1 there. I've got -3/2 x plus y. I'm going to go the step further and actually get rid of the fraction. This time I'm going to choose to multiply by -2 actually, because -2 times -3/2 is just going to be +3. -2 times y, -2y. I could have multiplied by +2 and gotten a different version of this that would be just as valid, but I'm going to go that direction. All right. Slope-intercept form, perpendicular to the y-axis. Okay, this one I'm going to sketch. Here's my x-axis, here's my y. They're giving me a point -5, +3. I'm going to find that point. Okay. They're asking me to give the equation of a line perpendicular to the y-axis through this point. Well, perpendicular means it forms a 90-degree angle with the y-axis. And while my drawing isn't very great here, we should, because I got a piece of paper underneath it that's messing it up, we should find that this line would be parallel to the x-axis, because the x-axis is also perpendicular to the y-axis. Okay? And what's true for any point on this line, here I've got -5, 3. Here is 0, 3. If I went out here, I'd have 4, 3. any point that's on this line that's perpendicular to the y-axis and parallel to the x-axis has one thing in common. For every single one of these points, y is equal to 3. Okay? If I was going to find the slope here, the issue I'd have is that any of the y values would give a difference of 0. 0 divided by anything is just 0. So this is still slope-intercept form. It's just that m is 0. Okay. 0 times anything is 0. And b, the y-intercept, is at 3. Okay, the same height of our point that they gave us, -5, 3. So y equals 3 is the equation of that line. In fact, for any horizontal line, it will be y equals something. In this case, y equals 3. Okay, going on to number 7 on the back, this one is actually the other scenario. I've got an x and y axis, and I've got some point through -4, +5. Okay, there's -4, +5. That is parallel to the y-axis. Well, the y-axis is a vertical line. If it's parallel, it's never going to touch. It's got to be running in the same direction, exactly the same distance away from the y-axis. Okay? So if I look for some points on this line, well, here's -4, 0. If I went out and then maybe down a few, I'd be at -4, 3. And what you start to notice is that the x values are not changing. The difference in the x values, if I was trying to find slope, the difference in the x values would always be 0, right? This could be anything, depending on which 2 points I pick. But I can't divide by 0. That's undefined. So this is actually an exception. It is not going to be y equals something. In fact, the only way I can define this line is by talking about what's always true for x. And what's always true for x for this line is that x will equal -4. Okay? In fact, for any vertical line, x will always be equal to a constant number. For this particular one, because they gave us a point with an x value of -4, x is equal to -4. Okay, we're going to try to finish up at least one more on this video. So slope-intercept, I've got a slope, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that right in, and I've got a point. Okay, so I know that point, that x and y value, if I substitute those values in, have to make this equation true. Okay, so I've got y equals 3. I've got 5 times my x value of -6, and I'm trying to find b. Looks like b is going to be equal to 33. And so to finish off my equation, I'm going to use that value of b to get y equals 5x plus 33. Okay, again, finished product, slope-intercept form. I've got my x and y value. I filled in m. I filled in b. I'm going to stop this one here. For numbers 9 through 12, please see part 2.